This week on Ask the Tech Guy, how do I uninstall programs? Ask the Tech Guy comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
This is Twit.
This episode of Ask the Tech Guy is brought to you by LastPass. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more. Hello, everybody. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, your Tech Guy, with a question from Robert. Don't know where he lives, but he did ask a question that I think a lot of people have. It's not as obvious as it might seem. How do I delete a program from my computer completely? The answer actually depends a little bit on what kind of operating system you use. But in general, Mac or Windows, it's always best to look for the uninstaller program that came with the original and use that, because only the original program's installer knows where it stuck everything, and that's the real trick to uninstalling. So in Windows, it's a pretty easy thing to do. You're just going to go to the add remove programs. That's what they used to call it. I think it's now programs and features or apps and features. Look for the program you want to install, click it, then click the uninstall button. And in most cases, that'll do everything you need. In some cases, programs that come with installers either install an uninstaller, which you can look for and run. Sometimes it'll be in the menu folder, or you rerun the installer. This is often the case on both Windows and Mac, and the uninstaller is built into the installer. But let's go through the more nitty-gritty details, operating system by operating system. If you installed it, well, let's start with the Mac. If you installed through Apple's App Store, it's very similar to doing it on Windows. You're going to open the App Store, open the list of installed apps. That's in the App Store. Click on your account. You'll see it on the lower left, at least in the current version of Mac OS X Catalina. Click your head, is what I always say, or your icon. Then you'll see a list of all the apps you've ever installed. This is actually very useful when you're first setting up a new Macintosh, because that list is there, and it will have a little cloud with a download area if it's not arrow. If it's not installed, and you can click that and install all the apps that you've bought previously. But if it's already installed, you'll see an open button. Right next to that open button, when you hover your mouse over it, there's three little dots. Click that, and you'll see Delete App at the bottom of that menu. That, again, is the best way to do it, because the developer knows best about how to reverse the changes she made to your system to install the app. In general, on the Macintosh, Apple's done a very smart thing. What looks like it's a program icon in your applications folder isn't. It's a folder inside there with an icon and a name, let's say Microsoft Word or whatever. But if you right-click on that and select Open Contents, you'll see that that's actually not a single monolithic file. It's a folder containing all sorts of other stuff: resources, images, icons, program code, a whole lot more. The advantage of doing it that way, Apple lets developers install a bundle of objects that are needed by the program in one logical, clean place. And by taking that icon, remember, it's not just a program, it's a folder, and dragging it to the trash, in most cases, that's sufficient to uninstall an app on Macintosh. Just drag it to the trash. Unfortunately, some programs, and this is more and more the case, especially programs that run in the background all the time, or maybe they're menu items, sometimes they install little tidbits in other places. There'll still be something in the applications folder, but it may also store information in a folder in your library. You have two libraries in a Macintosh. There's the system library, system/library, and there's your library in your own personal account, your account library. The system library usually is visible just by browsing from the Finder all the way up to the root level and going to system/library. And inside that, you'll see another folder called Application Support. That's one of them. There's another one in your own personal library. That's a little trickier to get to, because by default, Apple hides that from yourself. So to get to that, you go to the Finder. There's a Go menu at the top there. click the Go menu, hold down the Option key, and you'll see Library pop up. That's your library. Then you can select it in the menu and open it. Once you're in your library, you'll see Application Support. You might browse through there to look for a folder with the name of the company that made the program or the program itself. You got to be careful here. You don't want to be over aggressive. It's okay to leave stuff in this folder. So if in doubt, don't delete it. But if you look at it and you say, well, that's clearly the stuff for that program, I'm getting rid of that program, you can delete it from the Application Support folder. There are other folders, unfortunately, that programs can put stuff into. Almost all of them are in your library folder. For instance, look at application scripts within the library, launch agents within the library, preferences. There are a few other places. But again, you want to be really careful. You don't want to be too aggressive in deleting stuff. It's okay to leave extra stuff lying around. Once you get rid of the main application icon, that program's not going to run. If you want to really make sure, you also might want to look in your user's system preference pane, click your user account, click login items, and check and make sure that that program isn't starting up when you start up the computer. It probably won't cause any harm since the program's been deleted, but you might get an error message. So if you do see an entry there in the login items, you can delete that too by pressing the minus key. All right, that's Macintosh. And believe it or not, that's the easy one. In Windows, again, best to use the uninstaller. Almost always the only way, especially if it's an antivirus. There are programs that don't like to be uninstalled. For obvious reasons, an antivirus doesn't want malware to automatically uninstall the antivirus, so they often make it difficult to just uninstall it. There may be an uninstall entry in the Apps and Features control panel. You might select it, but stuff still gets left behind. A lot of times your system's still modified in some ways significantly. So if you can, if you use McAfee or Norton or some other antivirus, go to the company's website and they will have a separate uninstaller. You can also Google it and get it from the company's website, and that will get rid of all the little tidbits it leaves lying around. This is the problem with Windows. A program, when it installs in Windows, it will install an exe file in one of the Windows program folders. There's x86. There's a number of these. But it also may install DLLs, dynamically linked libraries, in the Windows directory and other directories. It'll probably modify the registry. You don't want to start messing with the registry. It does a lot of things to set itself up in the Windows operating system. Manually reversing those things is tough. Always better to use an uninstaller. Now, if the app comes from Microsoft's Windows Store, you should be able to go in the Windows Store and delete it. The App Store there has an undelete feature. You can also find it, in fact, it might even be easier to do this all within the Apps and Features control panel. If you can't see it, and some Microsoft programs will not have an entry there, there is a PowerShell command. And I'm hesitant. We'll put it on the screen just so you can see it. This is a black diamond tip. This is for the professionals here. You're going to need to open PowerShell as an administrator. Usually that means clicking on the PowerShell icon in the Start menu and selecting Run as Administrator. You'll open that up, and you can type get-appx package space star, name of the app star, pipe, remove-appx package. Here's the command right here if you want. You're going to replace the name, obviously, with the app's name. I use this when I first get Windows. I use this command to find and delete all of the crap that Microsoft puts on there, including all of those weird games and the stubs and stuff. So it's a useful command to know, but if you're not comfortable with PowerShell, you might want to stay away from that one. I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, but there's the Revo uninstaller, or there's this third-party uninstaller app. I don't recommend those. They're an added expense. And frankly, they aren't always going to do the best job. They don't know any more than you know about that application. So they're going to try to figure out where that application installed, but they won't do necessarily the perfect job. And frankly, I think you can do just as well yourself. The main, I think, lesson here is kind of the fundamental uninstalling, whether it's from the control panel or by dragging the icon on a Mac to the trash can, is usually sufficient. Don't be too OCD about getting every last little bit out of the operating system. Most of the time, if the program's gone, those bits don't mean anything. And you can screw things up by trying to delete too much. I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question, Robert. Thank you for writing to us. Stay tuned. I'll tell you how you can get your question answered on Ask the Tech Guy in just a second. But I do want to mention our sponsor. It's brought to you by LastPass. And man, this is a recommendation I've been giving people for years. From access to authentication to passwords, LastPass manages every entry point to your business so you can mitigate risk. LastPass goes above and beyond to ensure security for all its users. Your data is encrypted and decrypted at the device level. Increased security doesn't have to be more complex for your business. Visit LastPass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. That's LastPass.com/twit. Well, that's Ask the Tech Guy for this week. The show comes out every Monday. I hope you'll tune in next Monday. I hope you'll visit LastPass.com/twit. And if you have a question, email me. I'd love to hear from you. Ask the Tech Guy at twit.tv. I'm Leo Laporte. We'll see you next time.
Stumped on a nasty tech conundrum? Email AskTheTechGuy@twit.tv.